only one who had a big fear of getting married and getting a mother-in-law from hell. Today we have some trifling stories that we need to figure out whether these mother-in-laws are just from hell, they raised mama boys, or if OP is just out of pocket. Welcome back to the Breed Hive, where boss attorney Bree is the judge and you, the Breed Hive, is the jury. Whether you're new here or a returning viewer, make sure you're dropping down in the comments your thoughts on the story so that we can determine who's trifling or not. Now, order in the court for the first story. There's an age-old question of whether the maternal grandmother should be in the delivery room when their grandchild is born. And this OP wants to know whether she's trifling or not. Am I trifling for telling my mother-in-law to F off and not allowing her in the delivery room? I, 27 female, am married to my husband, Valentin, 28 male, for 3 years now, being together for 10 years. We are really happy, and to make that perfect, we are expecting our first of 2 wanted babies in about 2 or 3 weeks. My relationship to mother-in-law is quite good. This is not something that we normally see. Normally the relationship with mother-in-law is already messed up, but let's see why OP was pushed to telling mother-in-law to F off in this situation. I don't feel like she's a second mother to me, but I really like her and spending time with her. Also, normally she is a really sweet and nice person, and luckily not one of those monster-in-laws you hear about. But truth is, sometimes she makes me a bit uneasy. Just the vibe she gives me, despite her being nice, makes me uneasy and uncomfortable when I am stressed or tired sometimes. With the due date getting closer, she approached me and asked in which hospital we would deliver. I told her the name of the hospital I would deliver in if everything was going according to plan. Then she asked who would be there with me, and I told her I would take my mom, my best friend who is a delivery nurse / midwife, and Valentin as soon as he is able to come when labor starts. She seemed to be really hurt and asked why I didn't choose her to be in the room. I told her that I didn't want her to be there because it's intimate and we are not that type of close, which OP is totally valid in who she chooses to be in the delivery room. She seemed hurt and asked if she would at least be allowed to meet her grandbaby directly after delivery if she's not going to be allowed in the room when I give birth. That's actually a reasonable question for mother-in-law to ask. I denied again because after giving birth, I want to have just a little time to adjust to only Valentin, baby, and me. About 2 to 3 weeks after delivery, she is welcome to meet the baby. She then told me I was rude and that she did so much for me and I was being disrespectful for not allowing her these moments with her grandchild while allowing my mom and my best friend to be a part of it. She also let me know how sad that made her. I flipped because I felt pressure and I told her to F off, that it was me giving birth and I did not want to use that time to bond with her while pushing out a baby from my lady parts. Some people think that I should allow her to be a part of the special moment and that I am trifling. Some say I'm in the right and I'm not trifling. So am I trifling for not allowing my mother-in-law in the delivery room when I give birth? And just some things that OP updated us on is that her husband is the one that came up with the 2 to 3 week plan to not allow anybody to see the baby. That OP's mother is also not going to be in the room when she's giving birth if her husband is able to make it on time. The mom is basically there as a placeholder until the husband gets there so that OP is not alone, and the friend is there for medical purposes. So if the husband gets there on time, her own mother won't even be in the room, and her own mother is subject to the 2 to 3 week wait in order to meet the baby as well, which is good information to know because sometimes we do want our own moms there, but not our husband's mom there because it is a really intimate situation. Breed Hive, make sure you are dropping your thoughts in the comments and let's get on to the pre-verdict. I'm gonna have to say, no, you are not trifling. In any situation when it comes to giving birth, the person giving birth has the most responsibility to decide who gets to be in the room when they're giving birth. And if they don't want you in the room, they don't have to have you in the room. Where I will say that OP might be a little trifling is not letting the mother-in-law meet the baby after giving birth. And while I do understand she feels like she's not going to be the most put together, she's not going to look the best, I think waiting 2 to 3 weeks for the grandparents to meet their first grandchild is a little bit extreme, but people can do whatever they want with their babies. But I will say she should at least let her do like a FaceTime or meet her for 5 minutes or whatever it is. 2 to 3 weeks does seem a bit long for me, but at the end of the day, it's completely up to OP and her husband what they want to decide to do. It seems like they're on the same page with waiting the 2 to 3 weeks. I personally wouldn't do it. That's why I would say she would probably be leaning towards trifling in that situation. In the situation of who's in there when she actually gives birth, that is completely up to her. Nobody else's feelings matter, so she's not trifling in that. So I'm going to go ahead and lean more towards not trifling in this situation. Breed Hive, make sure you are dropping your comments down below and letting us know the verdict of whether you think OP is trifling. These mother-in-law stories just keep getting worse. Am I trifling for telling my mother-in-law that I don't care about her sob story and she needs to move on and shut up? It seems a bit harsh, but y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Mother-in-law and I used to get along all right, and she used to babysit my daughter one day a week to help with the cost of childcare. I had cameras set up in the house because honestly, my daughter's safety is the most important thing to me. This was not specific to mother-in-law. My stepmom babysat occasionally, as well as a teenager I paid. I used to check in fairly often. One time, mother-in-law did something I didn't like. It wasn't anything terrible, just we have different styles, and I asked her to not do it again, but obviously she found out about the cameras. Mother-in-law flipped the F out. Now I know why. Father-in-law did not allow her to eat much, just grilled chicken and lettuce, and when she came to my house, she would eat junk food. That is 100% fine, and I would have never outed her, but she has issues with food because a father-in-law constantly humiliating her in public. He was rude and had an attitude that he paid for a trophy wife and she was going to look like one. Oh my gosh, this guy seems horrible. Mother-in-law screamed at me. I reassured her that I know she eats at my house and that it's our secret, but she was pissed about the cameras and stopped babysitting. That was years ago. She is now engaged to someone who doesn't suck like father-in-law, but we don't get along very well anymore. She frequently makes comments about me being creepy and little jokes about me being a peeping Tom. I have to let a lot of stuff go because we don't see her often, but it gets old fast. The other day, I mentioned my mom visiting and staying in a hotel, and mother-in-law's fiance made a joke about who makes their mom stay in a hotel. And mother-in-law added that she would rather stay in a hotel because I would probably put cameras in the bedroom. I just snapped and told her what it says in the title and to shut the F up. She got kind of pissy and left soon after. My husband says I'm in the clear, but some other family was there and felt I was being too harsh. Now everyone is calling me trifling behind my back, which I know from one of my informant cousins. So, am I trifling? In this situation, I'm gonna have to say no. This is your house. You can literally put cameras wherever you want to, but you're not even putting them in private areas like the bathroom or bedrooms. And even if you wanted to, you can because it's your house. I do think that people should know about cameras in your house, but at the same time, you don't want them trying to avoid cameras and doing bad things that could lead to harming your daughter, which is the whole reason why you have the cameras in the first place. The fact that mother-in-law is continuing to bring this up, even though she's no longer babysitting the child, seems a bit suspicious, seems a bit odd to me. I think mother-in-law is the one that's trifling here. I don't think you are. And if you needed to cuss her out because you've been tired of hearing about this for the last couple of years, then definitely do it. Oh well, your husband's not mad at you, so he's not a mama's boy. You have the right to put up cameras in your house. So I'm gonna say mother-in-law has turned into a mother-in-law from hell. So no, you are not trifling. This story brings into question whether mother-in-law and father-in-law are in the wrong in this situation. Am I trifling for letting my husband dump my sister-in-law and niece onto my mother-in-law and father-in-law after my family's food had been tampered with? Probably not. This sounds like you're not the problem. I, 37 female, had taken in my sister-in-law, 41 female, Michelle, after her husband had kicked her out of the house due to him serving her with divorce papers, and my niece Annie, 15 female, went with her mom. Michelle had called my husband Josh, 39 male, shortly after it happened, and we both agreed to let Michelle and Annie stay at our house until Michelle got an apartment. That was 2 months ago, and everything seemed to be going well, with both Michelle and Annie helping out around the house despite me telling them they didn't have to, and I didn't think there would be any problems with them living with us. That is until yesterday when we decided to reward my daughter Claire, 13 female, for doing well on her mid-unit test with pizza and her favorite Blizzard. When Claire went to get her ice cream out of the freezer after eating her pizza, Annie saw it since she was in the living room and asked Claire if she could have half of it since she wanted something sweet. You want half of my treat? Girl, move along. Claire refused because it was her treat. Exactly. And Annie got mad and started to argue with my daughter. I overheard them arguing from the bedroom and went downstairs to see what was happening. Claire explained what happened and I asked Annie if it was true, which she confirmed it was. So I explained to Annie that the ice cream was Claire's reward for doing well and it wasn't fair to make her give up half of it. Annie just said okay, and I figured that was that. I decided to make spaghetti for dinner that night since we had all of the ingredients, and once it was done, I went upstairs to ask my husband if he wanted to have his food now or later. When I went back to the kitchen, I saw Annie stirring the pot with a clear lipstick tube next to it that was streaked with something dark red. I asked Annie what she was doing, and she stammered out and said she was just helping me stir the spaghetti. I didn't buy that for a second, so I grabbed the lipstick tube from the counter, sniffed it, and gagged from the smell. It was period blood. Oh my gosh, this is disgusting. And my God, did it smell absolutely horrific. I thought I was going to throw up. That's disgusting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can y'all tell this a live reaction? I should have read this. I asked Annie as calmly as I could if she put blood inside the spaghetti, but she refused to speak until I called both Josh and Michelle down to the kitchen. Oh my gosh. Annie broke and admitted that she was mad that I didn't make Claire give up the blizzard, so she decided to get back at us by putting period blood in the food. How do you even collect that? Oh my gosh. Once my niece fessed up, I yelled at her saying that it could have made all of us sick and that was a ridiculous and cruel overreaction over something so minor. Michelle interrupted me, telling me not to yell at her daughter and that Annie just made a mistake due to stress of their current situation and that hormones from her period messing with her brain. No, she's 15 years old. She knows right from wrong. Absolutely not. I said that I didn't care what caused her to do it, and I would never think of tampering with someone's food like that if they said I couldn't have something that was theirs, even if I was going through what Annie is. The divorce is not an excuse for sure. At that point, my husband intervened and said that if Michelle was going to excuse Annie's behavior and not punish her in any way, then both of them would have to leave to my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. Michelle tried to protest, but my husband shut that down by asking if she was going to punish my niece for what she did. Michelle said no. So my husband told them to pack their stuff. I didn't say anything because, quite frankly, after what happened, I wanted them gone too. Michelle and Annie packed up all of their stuff, then they left with an Uber picking them up from the house. I dumped the spaghetti out and ended up just ordering takeout. Like, yeah, they ruined a whole goddamn meal over this. A few hours later, my mother-in-law, 66 female, had called me to scold me for letting my husband kick Michelle and Annie out, dumping them onto her and father-in-law. That's because y'all don't want to deal with them either. Apparently, they were not prepared for guests and had to call over a younger neighbor of theirs to help them clear out the spare bedrooms, which had been used for pseudo storage spaces. My mother-in-law said that I should have told my husband to let Michelle and Annie stay the night, call them to let mother-in-law and father-in-law know that they had to take Michelle and Annie in, and then kick the two out. Josh heard what his mom was talking about and took the phone from me. He told his mom that she would have done the exact same thing to him and his grandparents if he tried to pull that while living with them. My husband then hung up on his mom and told me not to worry about it. These husbands are doing good today, okay? I'm relieved that Michelle and Annie are out of the house, but I feel guilty that I let my husband push them onto my in-laws instead of doing what my mother-in-law suggested. So, am I trifling? Absolutely not. Brihad, make sure you are dropping in the comments your thoughts so that we can get the verdict. Let's get into the pre-verdict. I'm going to say that OP and husband are completely not trifling in this situation. That little girl did something completely disgusting over something that really wasn't warranted. You wanted to basically poison people with your bodily fluids because you didn't get some ice cream. Instead of asking your mom to take you to go get some freaking ice cream, or even asking your uncle to go get some ice cream. The other thing is that her husband, OP's husband, is the one that sent his sister and his blood niece to his parents' house for them to deal with their child and their grandchild. OP has nothing to do with this. She does not have any say over how her husband is dealing with his family. So absolutely not. OP is not trifling in this situation. She let her husband deal with his family as it should go. I can understand if OP was the one kind of just kicking them to the street. She didn't say nothing. Her husband, who is blood related to them, is the one that kicked them to the curb. Her husband is not having an issue with it. Husband is definitely not a mama's boy. OP is definitely not trifling. And mother-in-law and father-in-law, while not quite being from hell yet, they're on their way there if they're going to continue to try to blame OP and their husband for their house not being prepared for guests. That has nothing to do with them. Also, sister-in-law and her daughter could have went to a hotel until her parents got their house together. This is not OP's situation or problem at all. So I'm gonna have to say, not trifling. We have yet another camera story, but it's really not as bad as you think. Am I trifling for banning mother-in-law from my house after I discovered that she installed a camera in the bedroom? My husband, 33 male, got into a car accident almost a month ago. He has been bedridden due to a back injury, and I've been his primary caregiver. The pressure has been too much for mother-in-law. She keeps telling me to take care of him and to be there for him constantly. She begged me to take time off work, and I did, asked me to send her hourly updates about his conditions for the first 2 weeks, but when I don't, she'd get mad and cause an issue. She visits every day but doesn't do anything to help. Alternatively, she'd list all the things I should or shouldn't do. The family keeps telling me that she's worried sick for her son, so I try to stay calm. Days ago, she called me to berate me about not replacing the sheets quickly. I had no idea how she found out since my husband didn't call her. My sister-in-law called me to tell me that her mom installed a camera in the bedroom to see if I was properly taking care of her son. Why don't you come pick him up then? I was stunned. After searching the room, I found the camera. I called my mother-in-law and had a huge fight with her. She admitted to it and said that she was feeling concerned and wanted to make sure that her son was being cared for despite him calling her every day. I yelled at her, telling her that she's no longer allowed into my home after this. She lost it and went on a rant about how I'm stopping her from seeing her son and that not seeing him will literally make her sick herself. The family called me later to get me to back out of this decision, but I told them she breached my privacy and took advantage of the situation. They say that I'm taking it too personally and that I can't blame a concerned mother for wanting to make sure her son is fine, especially since she listed things she thought I was doing wrong. I ended the conversation, but my husband is upset, telling me I'm being vindictive and that if his mom can't come, then he'll move there with her. Then go live with her, sir. We argued, then I went outside and he's been silent ever since. Don't be silent. Go on and pack them bags, back injury guy. Have your mama come over here and pack your bags. So, am I trifling? Bree Hive, let me know your thoughts so that we can get to the verdict. On to the pre-verdict. I'm going to have to say that OP is not trifling in this situation. She is taking care of her husband in the way that she knows how to do. This man is 33 years old and his mommy is over here telling his wife what to do in order to take care of him. But when mommy is over there, she's not actually taking care of him. So should we also be criticizing everything that she's not doing? Probably, but we're going to let her have it. OP is doing what she needs to do. This is her house. Mother-in-law cannot go around putting cameras in OP's house, yet alone in her bedroom. Like, what if OP is walking around over there naked? Like, absolutely not. This is completely out of control. Him saying that, oh, if you don't let my mommy come over here, then I'm going to go and live with her. Then go. Bye. You already taking up too much of my time anyway. I know they say for better or worse when you get married, but this guy is out of control to be like, you're being mean to my mom. No, your mom is being rude and crazy, okay? You go live with her. I'm going to have to say, and not trifling on this one. But Bree, make sure y'all are letting me know your thoughts on the situation. Have you ever met a lady that forced her adult children to live close to her? Me neither. Am I trifling for telling my mother-in-law we've moved because we liked a house? I recently came into enough money that I can now be a stay-at-home mom, and we were able to pay off our home, sell it, and get a small mortgage on a nicer house in a rural area. Our issue is husband and his family all live within 5 miles of mother-in-law, but we aren't very close with them. We didn't tell any of his siblings about my money or my job and only told mother-in-law once the sale of the house had been finalized and paperwork signed for the new house. When husband updated her so that she had our new address, she didn't say much other than, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I need some time to decide. Decide what? We already moved. Which we thought was strange, but we left her to it because we are trying to move a house with a toddler during lockdown. After a few days, she called husband back and said that she thought about it and discussed it with his sister and does not approve nor give us her blessing, as she thinks it's irresponsible not to stay in a house we now outright own and instead take on more debt just to move far away from family. We don't need your blessing. We are grown. What are you talking about? He tried to explain to her that the new mortgage would only take 10 years, paying what we used to pay monthly anyways. With regards to too far, it's only 33 miles from our current home and is closer to my husband's job. Mother-in-law said she felt we'd chosen a new house specifically because it's further from her to make it difficult to visit. I jumped in, she was on speakerphone, to try to assure her that the only reason we chose the house in the area is because we love the house. She asked my husband to take her off speaker, at which point she berated him for letting me lie and insulting her intelligence since nobody moves to a new area just because they like a house. She said my lie being so obvious just proved that we didn't care about keeping her in our baby's life and that I was trying to pull husband away from his family and he needs to rethink his decision. He ended the call and basically said that she made her bed and can now lie in it, but did say that he thinks me jumping in with an emotional reason for the move rather than the logistics he was telling her probably made her feel like I was dismissing them both, and that's why she got upset. So, was I trifling for saying we're moving because we love the new house? Beehive, y'all already know what to do. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Pre-verdict, I'm gonna say that OP is not trifling in this situation. The husband is kind of teetering on mama's boy, but not all the way. Wife's reasoning on why they decided to buy the house has nothing to do with why mother-in-law was upset, because mother-in-law was upset either way it went. He didn't need to berate his wife or I guess tell her she was wrong in any way, because that's the reason why she bought the house. That's none of mother-in-law's business, but she decided to tell her. I don't think that the husband saying that he had the logistics makes his response any better than OP. So I'm gonna say OP is not trifling. Husband is a little iffy on whether I'm gonna say he's a mama's boy or maybe just misogynistic. And a mother-in-law is definitely a mother-in-law from hell. So overall, OP is not trifling. Let me know what y'all think. This mother-in-law said she was gonna do what? Am I trifling for cutting off my mother-in-law after she made a joke about poking holes in our condoms? You're probably not trifling. I, 38 female, have been together with my husband James for 4 years. We are both child-free and do not intend to have kids in the future. When we first got married, we both told our family about how we didn't want to have kids and why. My family was fine with it, but his wasn't, especially mother-in-law, who I'll call Mary for privacy. She's either passive-aggressive or just tells us we'll change our minds soon. For example, telling us I can't wait to be a grandma despite us not wanting children. If we try to say otherwise, she just pretends not to hear us. I've been very uncomfortable with this and I have told my husband multiple times, but he just brushed it off by saying she'll accept it someday. Like, no, you guys are already 38. Like, why is she still pushing this? However, it reached a limit. Recently, James was hosting a dinner party and invited his family as well as mine. While we were eating, mother-in-law jokingly said, "You know, OP, I've considered poking holes in you and James' condoms so that I could be a grandma. It's so smart and you never know, except you just told me, crazy lady." Before laughing, I was horrified. After that, I excused myself and left the house. James followed after me saying I was being dramatic and it was a joke. I told him that it wasn't a joke and what would happen if she actually did it. We kept arguing for a bit before he stormed back into the house and I drove off in my car. I've blocked mother-in-law on all social media and deleted her number. The whole family is furious with me now, calling me sensitive and paranoid. I wouldn't be paranoid if she didn't say it. Am I trifling? Beehive, y'all already know what to do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's get on to the pre-verdict. Is OP trifling in this situation? Absolutely not. I do not think that OP is wrong in this situation. Basically, mother-in-law is telling her, I am going to commit an assault on you. I am going to poke holes in condoms, let sperm get into your body and potentially cause you to get pregnant, which could potentially cause you to have to make a medical decision that you shouldn't have to make because you are taking precautions not to get pregnant because you don't want to have kids. That is assault, lady. You cannot do that. And for the family that then turn around and say that, oh, you're being paranoid. I wouldn't be paranoid if this lady never said that. I never even had that thought until she said this crazy stuff. So absolutely, OP is not trifling in this situation. The husband, on the other hand, needs to get his mother-in-law in check. And honestly, OP needs to be looking at her husband a little crazy because it kind of sounds like maybe that's something that him and his mama is planning together. So no, OP is not trifling. Her husband is a mama's boy and her mother-in-law is a mother-in-law from hell. Leave them people alone. They are 38 years old and they decided that they don't want to have kids. So stop pressuring them into doing it. It gets old really quick. OP, not trifling. Beehive, thank you for joining as always. We always appreciate your comments down below. So let me know what you think the verdict should be in all of the stories in the comment section. I hope to see y'all in the next video where these Redditors get even crazier.